Political scientist Professor Donald death of the lucky country is well known for his books. He spoke about Australia's lucky country. On the day the Whitlam government was sacked, Professor Horn was in hospital recovering from an eye operation. He told the guests at today's lunch that when he eventually heard of the incident, he was deeply shocked. Ever since that day in November, Professor Horn has led the movement for constitutional reform in Australia. Today, with his tongue planted firmly in his cheek, he spoke about Australia's lucky constitution. His feelings are perhaps best expressed in his ideas for a monument to that constitution.
Well, I think that we could have an Australian constitution which would be a big column, and then there'd be some statues at the bottom. And one would be to Sir Garfield Barwick, defending free enterprise, and one would be to Jockey Peterson, defending the states, and another one would be to a tax evader, defending one of the harbour schemes, and then the last one I think would be to Sir John Kerr, defending the Constitution. And then I think on top we should put our great liberator, who will be Queen Victoria.
More seriously, what do you think are the main things wrong with the Australian Constitution at present?
Well, one of the extraordinary things about our Constitution is that it's not liberal, it doesn't have any provisions about human rights, it's not democratic in the sense that it doesn't guarantee equal voting, and it doesn't guarantee that we'll get the kind of government that people want. And it's not a national constitution, it doesn't declare any kind of Australian independence. So I'd go for all three of those, I think.
Get the voice in here. That's what you want us to do. Yeah. And we've got to make it look like they're going out to all these roads.
Suburban train services have not been affected by the industrial dispute. However, all long-distance country and interstate services have been cancelled tonight, including those through Newcastle. Cancelled are the Brisbane Limited, the North Coast Overnight Express, the Gold Coast Motor Rail, the North Mail to Armidale and Moree, the North Coast Mail to Grafton and the North Coast XPT. Train services to Sydney were also affected today. However, 2 scheduled services early this evening will run as planned. There are still a number of issues that remain unresolved in the dispute involving train examiners. The State Rail Authority is expected to review the situation tonight. At this stage, it's expected tomorrow morning's fly to Sydney will run to Gosford at least.
The state's road toll now stands at 1,123, and at least 130 of those fatalities have occurred in the Hunter region. 16 of those have died on our roads so far this month, compared with 14 during October. During the weekend, just one accident claimed 4 lives and left another 5 in hospital, who will probably bear the scars of their injuries for life. The 2-car accident happened shortly before 8 p.m. on Saturday night along Main Road, Bullaroo. For the 8 occupants in one of the vehicles, including 6 members from a Cessnock family, there was little chance of escape. Less than 6 hours later, 2 New Zealanders died when their motorcycle hit a power pole just 100 metres from the scene of the first accident. Neither was wearing a crash helmet. A pedestrian struck by a car in Lorna Street, Waratah on Friday night died the next morning in the Mater Hospital. And another motorcyclist was killed after his machine collided with a car at Curry. Last night, a head-on smash at East Maitland claimed the lives of 3 people and left another critically injured in the Mater Hospital. Those killed were the driver of a utility, Leslie John Borrow, 34 of Morpeth, and the driver and passenger of the other car, Nancy Catt, 57, and Lyle Wood, 30, both from Taree. As the Hunter reels from one of its blackest weekends on the roads, Sergeant Peter Anforth from the Police Rescue Squad spoke out about the carnage.
And I find it terribly hard to express my views or reaction in relation to this matter. I've been crying out now for the last 2 years for some sanity from the people in Newcastle with the driving that's going on, and we've seen this mass carnage on the road this weekend. It's just a continuation of what we've been talking about, and I pleaded recently on the radio and television with people to take more care and be more caring with other people with their driving and that sort of thing to avoid it, but it's still going on and going on. I feel sure that our department will be coming down very, very hard and very, very strongly, particularly after this weekend. I don't think there'll be any stone left unturned to try and save lives and keep people intact.
The fire broke out in a precipitator in the gas cooling section of the plant and quickly spread to adjoining equipment. The plant had been offline for 4 weeks as part of a general overhaul, and it was just being brought back online when the fire started. Firemen from all over Newcastle were called to the scene in anticipation of a far larger problem. Fortunately, the blaze was confined to one area, but it is still a major setback for the company. Today, Mr. Jack Garrity, Engineering Maintenance Manager of the plant, spoke about the effects the fire will have on the sulphide works.
The first priority was to establish the actual damage, which the engineers have been working on since this morning. And from that we believe we can get the plant back online in about 7 days. But it would have been a production cut of around about 20%. We believe it'll take in the order of 4 weeks to finalise the repairs to get back to full production.
Do you have any estimates yet on damage?
First order estimates are in excess of $300,000 plus the loss of production while the plant's being repaired.
Was the plant itself protected with fire sprinklers?
Well, as I said previously, that the work of the fire brigade plus the internal fire service certainly contained the damage to a small part of the plant, and I think that speaks pretty well for our internal service and the fire brigade.
The meeting had been called by delegates of the Amalgamated Metal Workers and Shipwrights Union to protest the continuing job losses at the BHP. Union representatives had hoped to get a senior executive from the giant steel company to address the workers over the likelihood of future retrenchments. Whilst the men waited outside, a meeting with Industrial Relations Manager Mr. John Hayes called for no further retrenchments until the decision of the Industries Assistance Commission to be released next year was known.
We told them what your decision was, that there should be no further retrenchments, including apprentices, until such times as the IAC brings down its decision.
Following the meeting, the men voted to march back to Foley Park as a show of protest for those who had already lost their jobs. Here they voted unanimously to resume work at 7:30 tomorrow morning.
Firemen, today's blaze must have been all too familiar. It's only just over 3 weeks ago that 12 buses in this shed belonging to Sergeant's bus lines were destroyed. But obviously that $1 million fire was extinguished before everything at the flammable went up. Today, a spark from a cutting torch ignited spilt oil, and in minutes, 2 of the gutted buses were again ablaze. Closely parked buses, debris and dense smoke made it difficult for firemen to get at the fire, and water seemed only to spread the flames. As the fire flared, tyres in the coaches exploded, sending firemen and onlookers ducking for cover. Eventually foam was called for and the blazing oil was effectively smothered. In spite of their run of bad luck, Sergeants is still operating from premises in North Wales.
Delegates of the Amalgamated Metal Workers and Shipwrights Union to protest the continuing job losses at the BHP. Earlier, union representatives had hoped to see the senior executive of the giant steel company address the workers over the likelihood of mutual arrangements. Whilst the men waited outside, a meeting with Industrial Relations Manager Mr John Hayes called for no further retrenchments until a decision of the Industries Assistance Commission to be released next year was known.
Put the position to them. We told them what your decision was, that there should be no further retrenchments, including apprentices, until such times as the IAC brings down its decision in respect to the submissions by the company to the Assistance for Steel.
It was following this meeting that the men voted unanimously to march back to Foley Park as a show of protest for those who had already lost their jobs. Traffic was halted to a crawl as they made their way back. Here they voted unanimously to resume work at 7:30 tomorrow morning.
Declare it carried.
The time was here a long time ago when it became apparent that unemployment for 1983 was the overriding issue. The government should have grasped the nettle, given us the shopping trading that we want prior to Christmas to give a boost to the retail sector and ultimately to manufacturing.
As things stand, those shops that do open, though, are breaking the law. Can you condone this?
That's right. Of course I can't, but it's a pretty sorry state when major retailers, headed by very responsible men, have to make this sort of decision. The whole law breaks down when the community consensus will not support it, and we have a situation where the public are being frustrated, the retailers are being frustrated, unemployment is at an all-time high, and this union and this government are working together and failing in their duty to look after retailers.
Could that law be changed easily?
Of course it could. The government has the power to change the law. It's a matter of simple regulation. It's a matter of simply getting those unionists in to talk about the fact they're not looking after their union members.
The day had been organised to show the residents of Port Stephens the very latest in boat safety equipment. Personnel from the RAF base at Williamtown gave helicopter displays, whilst the Volunteer Coastal Patrol illustrated the correct way to let off distress flares. Among those represented was the newly formed Ocean Youth Club of Australia. Spokeswoman Serena Knox outlined the objectives of this exciting new club.
The Ocean Youth Club is a national club for young people between the ages of 15 to 21, and we take them away sailing on a large sailing boat, like the one you can see off the water here, Destiny. Destiny came up from Sydney last Monday with a group of school students from Chevalier College in Bowral, and they've spent the weekend there. Here in Port Stephens, they've been watching the displays here, and tomorrow morning they leave with a different crew to sail back to Sydney.
Can anybody between the ages of 15 and 21 participate?
Yes, girls and boys, with or without sailing experience. Minimum age is 15, and they can join very easily. It costs them $15 a year. They then have the opportunity to go sailing on our cruises. Yes.
And what do they learn?
Oh, they learn a number of things. Apart from the fact they learn how to sail, they learn how to live together in a small confined space. They learn teamwork and friendship and cooperation, and it's a marvellous character development exercise.
But this is one that is not country specific. It's a group of countries, most of the countries in the world, that together provide aid through a banking mechanism to development projects. And that aid is provided through national governments at their request, and national governments who belong to the bank, if their economic situation is such, or below a certain level, they are eligible to borrow. The Board of Governors is made up of representatives of all those national governments.
The idea for the campaign came to local businessman Barry Drinkwater. Mr. Drinkwater proposed that more time should be spent developing the area rather than continuing talk of gloom and doom. At today's inaugural meeting, local business people gathered to hear Mr. Roy Bates, director of the TV Bureau of Advertising, speak about the need for progressive marketing and advertising by members of the business community. Later, an audio-visual display traced the growth of advertising and its effects on the Australian economy.
These memorable examples from Australia's advertising past are a vital reminder of what can be accomplished by thoughtful and aggressive decision makers when times are tough.